last week of the season. Who doesn't want to win $200 on a $5 bet? New customers get 40-1 odds because FanDuel Sportsbook is sports betting made simple. Offers like this are just one of the many reasons I love betting football on FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app in America. So what are you waiting for? Sign up on FanDuel Sportsbook with promo code Hennig, and you could win $200 on a $5 bet. That's promo code Hennig, exclusively on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or to play and present in New Jersey. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $200. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
South Jersey's home for the Sixers and Flyers.
Yeah! He scores! A two-hand jam!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
And we are back on Game Night. Woo! How about them apples? It's actually Josh Hennig on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, after filling in for Mike Gill off and on for the last month. And, of course, I had no shows on Saturday or Monday because we took some time off to recalibrate the batteries, watch some college football, enjoy some time off. But we're back, and we are here to talk about the Eagles, the Phillies, and, of course, the dumpster fire known as the Philadelphia 76ers right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up on the show at 6:20, Tom Moore from the Bucks County Courier-Times joins us to get into all of those topics because as Tom covers them, he's a longtime Sixers beat writer, but now he's sports columnist up there for Bucks County Courier-Times. So we'll get into all of it with him coming up on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you guys can join the show as well as the Phillies are finding ways to win, and I'm not fully sure how they're doing it. Also, the Eagles, they are days away from debuting the Nick Sirianni era in the NFL for the 2021 NFL season this Sunday on 97.3 ESPN. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick on the call. And, of course, Ben Simmons still has not been traded. Of course, you can always join the conversation. Don't forget about the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. You can message the show through there. And we appreciate all of you who are consuming the show, wherever you're consuming the show, on the app, on your phone, in your car, on the radio, online, watching the show, through the website, wherever you're catching the show. We appreciate you joining us today here on 97.3 ESPN. Also, we'll get into the weekend of college football as well. So we got a lot to get to on the show here on 97.3 ESPN. Before we get to the Eagles stuff, because Mike Gill is playing some of the Jalen Hurts audio from a little bit earlier, and we'll get to that as well a little bit later in the show. But I want to start with just a small point of reference when it comes to the Eagles, and that is, I was thinking about on my drive in this morning about the fact that this team, for the most part, is pretty healthy coming into the year. Mike Gill mentioned on the Sports Bash earlier that, look, last year, your left tackle was out. Your right tackle was coming off of ankle surgery, and then he ended up missing most of the year. You were without your right guard. The 5 offensive linemen are good to go this year. The only significant injuries that we have questions about is basically what's going on with Rodney McLeod at this point. Rodney McLeod is the only one that we're really not sure what he can or can't do at this point. Because, as Rob Motti just told us about 30 minutes ago on the Sports Bash, Rodney McLeod isn't even fully sure. So if Rodney McLeod isn't fully sure, then, well, who are we supposed to be sure? And that gets back to the question I was asking all of you guys last week. I have had questions, plural, multiple questions, multiple head scratchers about what this team is going to do at safety. And really, outside of that safety situation, you know basically who the teams are. You know the players are. You just don't know Nick Sirianni's offense. And that's the really great unknown. See, all the people who are saying the Eagles, they're only going to win 2 or 4 games, or the people who are going to say this team is going to finish in last place in the division, they're basing a lot of information off of 2 things I've noticed. And when you have conversations with people, off the microphone, when there isn't a spotlight on them, right? People are a little more honest with you, right? And not that the people who text the show, message the show, join the conversation here on 97.3 ESPN are honest, but I notice that when you run into somebody, at a local establishment, right? Or you run into somebody at the gym, or you run into somebody at the store, right? The conversation goes a little differently. It's a little bit less verbose. It's a little less extreme. And the great concern that I run into constantly is, well, we don't know yet what this team is going to be. And that's completely fair. But I can say that about almost every team in the NFL. I don't know how good Dak Prescott's going to be coming off an injury. I don't know exactly if we're going to get the good Ryan Fitzpatrick or the bad Ryan Fitzpatrick down in Washington. The Tampa Bay Bucks were almost completely healthy most of last year. Who knows if they're going to be completely healthy this year? Right? There's so many what ifs. So I'm going to choose to not to be the dude who's going to be the negative, condescending individual when it comes to the Eagles here on the radio. Listen, if some dude with a nice haircut on national platforms wants to denigrate the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, that's on him. But I'm not going to do that because I know who Jalen Hurts is. I know the kind of person he is. You know who else does as well? Jason Williams from Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max this morning on 97.3 ESPN said this.
He dealt with a lot last year. To see the way he shined, the way he rose to the occasion, did he have some bumps in the road? Of course. But I think he's deserving of being QB1 for the Eagles this year.
He earned this job. He wasn't handed it. He wasn't promised it. He worked for it. And Jalen Hurts is not taking this opportunity for granted. Jalen Hurts has had a very strange journey to here. Don't forget, this guy was a highly recruited player coming out of high school. Nick Saban wanted him. And when he could have left Alabama because Tua Tagovailoa was the rising star, he stayed there to help Tua. And if it wasn't for Hurts coming in to the SEC championship game, Alabama doesn't get back to the national championship game with Tua at the helm. And then the next year, Hurts leads Oklahoma to the college football playoff. Then he comes to the NFL, has to come in a tumultuous season for Carson Wentz. And now this year, he appreciates what the team has done for him and given to him.
Given this opportunity, I don't take it lightly. It's funny. I've been in a lot of new situations. I always talked about building relationships with my teammates and doing those things. And one of my biggest honors, I guess, and one of the biggest things for me, yesterday I was voted a team captain. It's just a testament to me trying to handle my business and go about everything the right way. So putting it all together, I do feel that way. And I feel like I built a great relationship with Coach, and we definitely want to do some great things here.
That's a humble young man right there. That's not an egomaniac. That's not a yes man. That's not a guy just giving, nice quotes for the media to grab. That's some honesty right there. So as I said, I'm driving in this morning. I'm going to continue to believe in a team that is not as banged up as last year, whose real only question right now is what is the offense and defense going to look like, and Rodney McLeod is going to play. I know those are two big questions, but I choose to believe and what's being put out there. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. Of course, as always, we'll get to your messages a little bit later in the show. However you're listening to the show, we appreciate you joining us here on 97.3 ESPN, listening in your car, listening on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Or if you're catching us online, watching the show, listening, we appreciate you joining us as always. I told you I get to the Phillies. A little Phillies news that came out just before we came on the show today. So it's a little good news for the Phils. Andrew Knapp and Luke Williams will begin their rehab assignments with Lehigh Valley. And Matt Joyce had his rehab assignment transferred to Lehigh Valley. So potentially some reinforcements coming for the Phillies. But I got to tell you, I don't know if I want Matt Joyce or Andrew Knapp back on this team. Seriously. Why would I want two guys who could potentially take roster jobs and playing time away from two other players who are actually playing pretty darn well right now? What I have seen from Matt Vierling and Rafael Marchand, I honestly don't know if I want Andrew Knapp and Matt Joyce coming up here, because I would assume that that's the jobs that they're coming for. Here's the deal. Since Matt Vierling came up to the Phillies this year, he's played in 12 games. He has a .429 batting average. .429. And on base percentage of .455. I don't want that guy off the team. I don't want any reason for that guy not even get playing time. I need him on the field. I need him out there. I don't want Matt Joyce. I'm sorry. No offense to Matt Joyce. It might be a great dude. I don't know him personally, but. And then you look at Vierling, when he's playing first, he's playing center, he's playing all over the place. He's become a valuable player with the loss of Rhys Hoskins and the cool off of Brad Miller and Odubel Herrera. And then you got Marchand. In the 12 games Marchand has played since the second half began, back in July. Well, if I remember my dates here. But since the second half of the season, Marchand's batting .260, which isn't amazing. But he has 4 RBI. And don't forget, this is a guy who has done a very good job behind the plate. And in the 7 games that he started, the Phillies have won almost every one of those games. And in the 9 games he's played, they're 7-2, and he started 7 of those games. Marchand has done an incredible job behind the plate for this team. I don't know if I want to see Andrew Knapp or Matt Joyce back up here. Maybe you bring up Knapp so you have a third catcher just to make sure, but I don't want Knapp getting playing time over Marchand at this point. And I don't want to see Matt Joyce take at bats away from Vierling. These are two guys who have come up at the right place at the right time and made an impact on this ball club. I think that you got to ride the guys who have got you here. I hope that you just stick with who got you to the dance. I hate when sports teams capitulate the veterans. I hate it. If a young guy is doing well, ride with him until the wheels fall off. You don't need to run away from that opportunity or that situation. I'm not promising you that Andrew Marchand or Matt Vierling is going to help you win the division or get to the wild card, but let's be realistic. Matt Joyce hasn't done anything for you this year. And, well, I know a lot of you hate Andrew Knapp. So, you know what? Let's see what these young guys can do. Let's let the year play out with the hottest guys we have and see what we can do. Because the Phillies are right there in it for the wild card and the division. Because the Padres are just plummeting. the Braves pitching staff has proven itself to be a little bit worse for wear. And the Reds are not capitalizing on the opportunity that they have in front of them anymore. The Phillies are right there. And I don't want to see two young guys in Marchand and Vierling lose at bats and lose opportunities because you feel obligated to give Knapp and Joyce playing time. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get into all this and more coming up next with Tom Marvin, the Bucks County Courier Times sports columnist. We'll talk Phillies, Eagles, and Sixers with him right here on Game Night. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
Jalen Hurts. Jalen, thank you for joining us today.
Let me ask you this question and give me the real now. Is it Boomer Sooner or is it Roll Tide? Come on now.
Man, you know what?
No one's bailing. Hey, Jalen, no one's bailing you. No one's bailing you out.
I tell them roll Sooners. That's what I tell them. I keep it fly like that.
Roll Sooners. Okay.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekdays from 6 to 10 on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Much has changed, but one thing hasn't changed. Chicky and Pete's on game day, in person or game watching at home. Call in for Chicky and Pete's takeout or delivery with DoorDash or Uber Eats. Enjoy all your game day Chickies food favorites and ice cold draft beer to go. Game on at Chickies and Pete's.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on a Tuesday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. You don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. You can download for free from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. After a busy sports weekend, we got a lot of stuff to get into. So the best person to talk about all of those things with is the one and only Tom Moore from the Bucks County Courier Times. Joins us right now on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. I posted for Mike Gill, the Sports Bachelor. I forgot what show that I'm on. Tom, how you doing today?
All right. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing pretty good. And I want to ask you first about the Phillies because, right now this is a team that this time of year, we're not used to them being in contention. This is a time of year everyone's focusing on football, right? It's football, Eagles, college football. But now the Phillies are just feeling like they're tapping you on the shoulder every time they say, we're still here, we're still hanging around. And it almost feels like just strange, Tom, to say that the Phillies are this close as they are in the division and the wild card.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually last year they weren't in a much different situation, but it felt very different because they kind of were, if not in a free fall, they were kind of fading, and
right.
It just didn't feel good. This team is so almost schizophrenic because they lose 2 games to bad teams. They get swept by a bad team. Then they come back and beat a good team. And right when you think they're out of it, then they're back in it. Like, it's like, well, the real Phillies, please stand up. They do things where you think, they're legit. They can do it. Then the next thing they stumble and play terribly. They blow a game, lose the first 2 of the series to the Marlins, who are another team going nowhere. And then they come back and, with a Monday night and, have a terrific performance by Wheeler, and it's 4-0. And then they went crazy and end up winning 12-0. They had a big, 8th inning and pulled away, and it was a laugher. They could use Matt Moore the last 2 innings, so it feels different. And they're also it's also that they're close. They're within 2 games or so in the wild card and the division, so they kind of have 2 ways of getting there. Whereas last year it was pretty much, there was only one chance, and that seemed to be kind of fleeting at this point.
Also, what does it say to you that, Rhys Hoskins goes down? He's done for the year. That was a huge part of their offense. And then all of a sudden, the offense picks up. They had that streak of games where they were scoring at least 7 runs in every game. And then even now in the last few games, they just busted up the Brewers yesterday. This is a very good Brewers team. What does it say to you the offense just woken up like this?
Yeah, well, the offense has really been streaky, Josh. I thought the offense would be more consistent and more 5-6 runs a game. But like you said, they've had stretches where they score 7, 8, 10 runs, in a while. And then, but before that stretch, when you look back, I think they averaged like 2.4 runs in the previous 10 games. Like it's really not very logical. Harper's been really, really good. But, they didn't have Gregorius, and, they've had a lot of guys that kind of in funks. Real Muto really hadn't been hitting the ball very well. Center field, they weren't getting much from. It's a funny thing. They certainly miss his power. Hoskins' power. Defensively, I don't think they miss him as much, at first base, but certainly putting him in there wherever, 4th or 5th or wherever, you could put him between, Harper and, Gregorius, or however you wanted to do it, and really protect him, and he'd get some good pitches to hit. So, it's impressive. But like I said, this team, with just under 4 weeks to go, you don't know what's going to happen. The bullpen, has been better. Saturday's game, notwithstanding with Archie Bradley. Really, Hector Neris has been tremendous the last month. He's really solidified the 7th, 8th inning, for them after he really struggled and lost the closer's role again. It's just such a funny year where there's so few things you can say for sure what we're going to get, because they've been so inconsistent and so up and down, and what you think is going to be a strength has been a strength on and off, and other areas where you didn't think would be a strength, have been strengths, at times. It's been a very odd year, but they're certainly within striking distance of, making the playoffs for the first time in 10 years.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch as it goes down the stretch. Tom Moore from the Bucks County Courier-Times joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Tom Moore Philly. Tom, I want to switch over to the Sixers because I thought that what you wrote about the history of the Sixers making trades and the situation that Daryl Morey is in right now with the Sixers is a very important aspect of this, because, this city has a history of being burned when it comes to some of these situations. And yeah, Daryl Morey wasn't here for all those situations, but when you have guys like Moses Malone, guys like Charles Barkley, guys like Allen Iverson, icons, Hall of Famers, and then you get what you get back in return for those deals, it makes the Ben Simmons situation even a little more uncomfortable for Sixer fans.
Yeah, I wrote about mainly Barkley, Moses Malone, and Fultz, either stars or high-profile players where they kind of had to trade him. They needed to. Now, Barkley wanted out in '92. He wasn't happy. He didn't think ownership was committed to winning. So he, and they got Jeff Hornacek, Andrew Lang, and Tim Perry, one very good player and two, average NBA players for a guy who the next year was the MVP of the league and led the Suns to the NBA Finals, where they lost to Michael Jordan in 6 games. And Moses Malone, the situation was in '86, he had 2 years left on his contract. But the weird thing was, in those days, there was no salary cap. So if you had an expiring contract, that was looked at as a bad thing because it was looked at that you had no value. So they traded him 2 years before his contract was up, but just got swindled and got nothing for him. And really, Markelle Fultz, the only good thing out of the Markelle Fultz deal, another number 1 overall pick, was that got the maxi, in return. But yeah, when you're trading a star or high-profile player, if you don't get another star or high-profile player in return, you almost always lose the trade. And that's, unless it's Lillard or they're fortunate, get another all-star caliber player, it might not, it probably isn't going to be equal value, at least close to what Daryl Morey thinks is equal value. The question is, when does he take the best offer? Does he want to do it before the start of training camp in 3 weeks? If he can't get what he wants, is he willing to wait and then, be a distraction and fines and all that stuff? We'll find out.
Tom, how much of it also is the fact that I just mentioned a little earlier, Morey wasn't here for those other situations. Morey's a new guy. He's a different kind of guy. We haven't had a guy like him very often in Philadelphia, a guy with his type of background. Brian Colangelo, he was a name, but he didn't really have a ton of success, right? You have some of the guys who've come in here, they didn't have the pedigree that Morey comes with, this infamy or famous, depending on who you ask, for the trades that he's made.
Well, I mean, maybe he's willing to wait. Maybe he's not going to, take 50 cents on the dollar, but, apparently he's asking for a lot. I'm guessing his asking price has dropped. You wonder if maybe he would have been better off dropping his asking price if he had a sense that maybe this was coming, that this was, Keith Pompey was going to break this, and that, now everybody knows what everyone pretty much had a good idea that they had to trade Simmons, but once this got out, his value just dropped. I mean, he can try all kinds of different things. He can wait. He could wait into the season if he wants, but it's going to be a headache and a distraction, and Doc Rivers is going to be asked about it, and the players are going to be asked about it. So, I'm sure he would like to do it, but if he's can only get, another very good player and a draft pick for Simmons, is he willing to do it just to cut his losses, or will he wait and see? And maybe that's where the experience comes in. Maybe he's willing to wait and see. But again, it would not be ideal. It'd be best for everybody to move on at this point. I mean, I didn't think Simmons was going to last forever. but I didn't think the divorce was going to be this quick. Let's put it that way.
I'm glad you used the word divorce because that's part of what's going through my mind. This is a situation where it feels like it's been building, right? It's a situation that even before the situation happened in Game 7, where he didn't dunk the ball and he passed it, the free throw problems and all the weird stuff with him. Sometimes when guys like you are asking him a question at a press conference, he comes up with an answer about his resume. Like some of his answers as well have kind of painted him in this image where the fan base just doesn't like him. And I know that the player shouldn't be so bent on what the fans or everybody else thinks, but at some point, maybe you're just in a situation where there's just no winning.
Well, maybe his personality, he just seemed kind of above it all, and he didn't really show a sense of humor like Embiid, Embiid had endearing qualities you could see, he was a little kid. Simmons, whether he was trying too hard or whatever, it just seemed like he was it was beneath him. You really never had a sense of having any idea really what he was like. I don't know what Joe Embiid's like, but you at least have a sense based on how he treats us. Right. With Simmons, it was just short answers, stock stuff. I don't know, just very guarded. And then, as I wrote before, the Sixers just protected him so much and made excuses. And I don't think that helped the situation, too. I think that really exacerbated it. But yeah, what were they going to do? He was the pick, the number 1 overall pick that year. Unless you wanted Brandon Ingram or you wanted to trade down, he was the logical guy. And they took him. And unfortunately, his defense and some of his intangibles, improved. But his offensive regression, late in games, and his fear of driving because he didn't want to go to the foul line really cost him. If he made half his free throws against Atlanta, they win that series easily. 50%. I'm not talking about 80%. 50%. They win that. And that's a hard thing to get by. The Sixers were in great shape to make a run this year. And who knows if they'll be number 1 again next year. What if they're number 2 or 3 and now they got to play the Bucks or the Nets in the second round? That's going to, that's a much taller task, assuming there are, no injuries or no significant injuries than it was with the Hawks this year, which was a young team really just happy to be there.
Tom, if and when Ben Simmons is traded, where does the Heat vision of everybody watching this team turn to next? Does it fall more on Embiid? Does it turn to Tobias Harris? Where do you think the attention turns once the Simmons situation finally passes over?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it depends somewhat on what they get. If they get another core guy, which you would hope they would get another guy to be with Harris, Embiid, and Curry, let's say, in that kind of main group. But, Tobias Harris is another guy, he was fortunate in a way that Simmons was so bad in those fourth quarters, not shooting in the last 4 fourth quarters against Atlanta. He really struggled, and he was passive. And when he shot, he didn't make fourth quarter shots. He really hurt them in big games in that Atlanta series, and it kind of flew under the radar with all the Simmons hubbub and everything else going on. But for all the improvement and all the regular season stuff and thinking he could be an all-star, and you could certainly make the case, he did not play up to that level in the fourth quarter. And whether Ben Simmons is here or not, and he most certainly won't be, if they get back there, he's got to be better too.
Tom Moore joins us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, sports columnist for the Bucks County Courier Times. Follow him on Twitter at Tom Moore Philly for more coverage. Tom, I want to bounce over to the Eagles because there's a lot of questions, a lot of expectations for this team. And I think the one thing that stands out to me more than anything is in a town that has a lot of reputations, okay? I think the one reputation that probably should stand out with this football team is, to me, there should be a connection between the idea that Sirianni and Hurts are portraying of the blue-collar work ethic and the grinding and earning your opportunity. And those things, to me, just sound like what Philadelphia sports fans always want. The Philly fans always want the guys who are earning their keep, who are going out there working hard every day. And I can't promise anybody that Sirianni is going to win X number of games his first year, but I just feel like the attitude and the culture coming into this year is just better than it was last year.
I mean, it might be. It probably is. Some, new blood. Maybe Peterson was here a year too long, and maybe he got, either whether it was burned out or kind of got exposed that, everything went right in 2017 and then, had some bad luck and made some decisions and personnel wise and draft picks, which was not his fault. But, he's a new coach. I mean, he's learning on the fly. What's he going to do, when it's 4th and 2 with a minute and 40 seconds to go in the second quarter of a 3-point game and the ball's at midfield? And, do you call timeout? Like, there's a lot of things, and that stuff happens a lot. So he's got to kind of figure things out. Is he going to be aggressive like Peterson was? Is he going to be more conservative? Is he going to attack? Is he going to run the ball more, which Peterson always said he would do, but tended to revert just like Andy Reid to throwing the ball. So I'm just curious more just to see how he calls the game and what he does. And, who's his main tight end? Is he going to go 11 personnel, 2 tight end a lot? Is he going to get Ertz and Goddard on the field a lot? One backfield. Is he going to go empty backfield a lot? Is he going to throw the ball on first down a lot? Is he going to take more shots down the field, which I really thought Peterson did not do, and that really hurt them last year. They didn't keep defenses honest, and defenses knew that they could pack the 7-8 guys near the line of scrimmage and didn't really have to worry too much about throwing the ball down the field. You got to use the whole field in this day and age with as big and strong and fast as these guys are. You have to keep them honest.
A lot of people seem to think that this team, at least the people on the outside, think that this team is not going to be that good this year. I personally believe that they're going to be better than the 4 wins that they had last year. What is your expectations for the Philadelphia Eagles, Tom?
It's really hard to say. I mean, if I had to pick a number, I would say like maybe 7-10, something like that. The division still is not great. Their schedule, they do play, some not great teams. It just kind of depends. And, a lot of it is how do the veterans handle, how do the Brandon Grahams and Fletcher Coxes, how are they handling, kind of being in college again almost and, hearing about let's get 1% better every day, all that stuff, which I understand and which you have to have a mantra and you be that way. But these guys have been in the league for 8, 9, 10 years. They've been through it. They've won Super Bowls. Brandon Brooks, Jason Kelsey, those guys, Lane Johnson. How do they handle things? Are they conduits with the younger players in Sirianni? Do they buy in? Which I'm sure they do now. But if things don't go well, or if they don't like the way things are going, how will that go? It's just very intriguing because everything's new. There's none of this. Sirianni's never done this before. His staff has never done this before. His players have never done it with him before. So there's so many things that are unknowns. It's really hard to say. But I think 6 or 7 wins is reasonable to expect, barring, a disastrous situation or some really good fortune, which could be the other way.
Give him a follow on Twitter at Tom Moore Philly. Check out all of his work with the Bucks County Courier Times, sports columnist over there covering all the Philly sports teams. And, of course, he joined us right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Tom, always appreciate you jumping on the conversation.
All right, Josh, you take care.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. And don't forget my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL is back, and FanDuel Sportsbook is celebrating with 40-1 odds on any Week 1 game. That's right. New users get 40-1 odds on any Week 1 game. Who doesn't want to win $200 on a $5 bet? New customers get 40-1 odds when you place your first wager, because FanDuel Sportsbook is sports betting made simple. Offers like this are just one of the many reasons I love betting football on FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app in America. Their app is simple to use with unique, fun bet types like same-game parlays and always-on promotions that let you get more action out of every game day. So what are you waiting for? Sign up on FanDuel Sportsbook with promo code Hennig, and you could win $200 on a $5 bet. That's promo code Hennig exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Must be 21 to play and present in New Jersey. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $200. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Coming up on the other side, we'll get to your guys' messages as you join the show, join the conversation. We're talking Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, and we'll recap my college football picks from the weekend. All that and more coming up right here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles open the 2021 season this Sunday in Atlanta against the Falcons.
Lions back. Here comes the rush. He's hit. They've got him back at the 35.
Game coverage begins at noon. Merrill and Mike call all the action starting at 1. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
experience. Go for the best. Pick up the phone and call Dennisville Fence.
Hey, South Jersey homeowners. Are you dreaming of a new fence or railing, but you've been waiting for the right time? Our pro tip of the day, give us a call to install in the fall. Right now, due to high customer demand, fall installation dates are filling up fast. So now is the time to get scheduled for your new fence or railing project. Choose from our inventory of privacy, decorative, security, and pool fence solutions by ActiveYards. No matter what your needs are, we have a high-quality, maintenance-free ActiveYard solution that's right for you. Don't miss your chance to install in the fall, coupled with our no-money down, interest-free financing, so together we can make your dream a reality. Give us a call today or go online to DennisvilleFence.com to request a free estimate, and be sure to mention that you want to install in the fall.
Go with experience, go for the best. Pick up the phone and call Dennisville Fence. 1-800-499-FENCE. Visit DennisvilleFence.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget to check out the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. If you haven't already downloaded it, you can download it for free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City from the Apple App Store or from Google Play. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on 97.3 ESPN. I mentioned a little bit earlier, it was a wild sports weekend. I'll get to the recap of the picks in just a minute, but I got to tell you that, after just a little retrospective, and just give me a moment here. And of course, I'll get to your guys' messages also this hour. Of course, the text board is open, 609-403-0973. You can direct message the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And of course, you can comment live as you listen to the show, watch the show, wherever you're consuming the show. We appreciate you joining the conversation. But just a moment of retrospection here. This time last year, I think a lot of people were unsure where the world was going, right? A lot of people were unsure what the future of sports was. And I tended to, and I still try to be, somebody who's reasonable and objective, but also glass half full. And I remember last year going out and trying to get out of the house and, go do some things with the limited options that we had. And I just remember how strained things felt. It didn't feel natural. It didn't feel normal, right? And even though at times, you would still go out this year, still things still don't feel 100% normal, right? But when I was out this weekend, I was at a local establishment on Sunday night, and listening to the Notre Dame fans and the Florida State fans screaming their heads off during that amazing game on Sunday night, which you heard right here on 97.3 ESPN, Notre Dame versus Florida on Sunday night, I just kept thinking, this is what we missed. We didn't really miss certain things when it came to the shutdowns and the pandemic stuff and all those things. We didn't miss certain things, right? We didn't miss the traffic on the road. We didn't miss, people littering, on the beach, or, we didn't miss, people being rude to each other as you're trying to, walk around. You missed the good stuff, right? You missed the moment where you saw, Florida State throw that big touchdown down the sideline, and the Florida State guy pumping his fists in the air, and the guy with the Notre Dame shirt bowing his head in shame. You missed the moment where Notre Dame's quarterback Jordan Travis throws that interception, which was an abomination to his right, and the Florida State fan putting his head in his hands, and the girl he's with turning him like, "Are you okay? You gonna be all right?" And the Notre Dame fans screaming in the building. That's what for me was missed. Going out to the movies I did this weekend, I saw the movie Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, next Marvel movie, which, if you didn't know, is broken almost every Labor Day weekend box office record with their performance over the weekend. And they did that in a quote unquote pandemic, right? Their theory is that, well, people don't want to go out to the movies. They're not sure if they want to go to the movies. Well, guess what? You had a movie that was highly anticipated and everybody wanted to go see it. And those were the things I missed. I missed the people's excitement and awe and moments of, reacting to things, because those are natural, normal things. And, I just wish everybody would appreciate those things, because we didn't have those things last year. We didn't have the natural reactions. We didn't have the organic moments when it came to sports, when it came to other things in life. And, walking around Stern Harbor on Sunday, just enjoying the fresh air, seeing people going in and out of shops. It was just like, okay, this is something that we missed. And I hope as all of you get to do whatever you do this fall, go to football games, go to high school sporting events, go out to your favorite establishments, go see a movie, then you got the holidays coming up. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. I just hope you all appreciate that we are where we are in the world we are today. That's like I got my little retrospective there for you guys. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. All right, over the weekend, I always like to do this. For those of you who've listened to me for a while, I've been doing these picks on the air since 2018 when sports betting came on board. Our Football Friday picks each week, and our sponsor this year is FanDuel Sportsbook, located in Bally's in Atlantic City. And it was another good weekend. You know, I hope you guys took some of my advice. I know the guys at the local establishment on Sunday night definitely took some of my advice. They were very happy with me, to say the least. Florida State did cover the +7, depending on which book you were on, but I told you it was +100, so it was a value grab there. But overall on the weekend, we went 7-2 on the weekend. We're now 10-2 overall. Definitely some good vibes over the weekend. Just to review what we got right. Michigan State, I told you guys take the money line. They won outright. 1 + 140 was the money line. I thought Michigan State was going to win, and it was so obvious that Northwestern was unmatched. I think some people were surprised how well Michigan State was able to run the ball, but you kind of had an idea what they were capable of. Kansas State covered easily the -3. They just crushed Stanford. Stanford's just not a good team this year. I told you guys to go with Maryland, and of course, we saw that Maryland pulled off that game as well against West Virginia. Sorry, Mike Gill, but had to go there. Had to pick the winner. Definitely got San Jose State wrong. I think either San Jose State is worse than I thought, or USC is maybe a little better than I thought, because I thought San Jose State had a kind of offense that could maybe have a shootout with USC, that USC would pull away, maybe win by 10 in the end. San Jose State was never in the game. So maybe, listen, USC's defense looks better than I thought they were going to. Told you guys about Florida State over Notre Dame. Ole Miss covering the -9.5. Big, huge win for them. Louisville, they just don't have the firepower. They don't have a Matt Corral under center. They don't have the type of expertise. I thought Lane Kiffin was a genius at what he did. He appointed the special teams coordinator to be the interim head coach while he was out with a COVID positive test. And that allowed the offensive staff and the defensive staff to only focus on their sides of the ball. And that way the special teams coordinator, who is not intricately involved in the game planning for offensive defense, he could just manage the team. And you've seen that in the NFL. One of the reasons why John Harbaugh has been a successful NFL coach is because he's a former special teams coach. He has involvement with both sides of the ball, but he also understands how important it is to let each side of the ball have their autonomy. I think that was a big reason why Ole Miss was able to execute at a high level last night, because neither side of the ball was worried about the other. They were just focused on their game plans. That was a great job by Lane Kiffin in that game. Also, of course, Thursday night, we gave you 3 games. We went 2-1, as we mentioned before. Eastern Carolina got that wrong. I really thought Eastern Carolina was going to pull it off. Gave you guys NC State, Devin Leary, and of course, we had the under in the other game. So definitely a good weekend. Always good to get some wins under our belt. And of course, we will have the Football Friday picks each week here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, being brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's in Atlantic City. Make sure you go check them out. Before we get out of here, one more thing I want to get to before we get out of here. Back to the Phillies, because I didn't really get into the starting lineup. The Phillies are doing something that I never thought I would see. In many ways, this is a byproduct of Joe Girardi constantly in search of the right formula. This is another game where you don't have a Dubal Herrera in the lineup. And it's a game where I think the Phillies are realizing they're just more comfortable with Segura in the 2-hole than the 1 spot. So they're putting Real Muto in the 3. And the reason I find this interesting is because thinking back to what I have heard over the years, one of the reasons why I've heard some, and this is from baseball people like Tim Kirchens, the world, guys like Buck Showalter, who's now on MLB Network, You know, all the older guys who watch baseball always talk about if you have a guy who you know is a good contact hitter, then you put him in first to force him to get back to being a contact hitter. And I think that this might be a blessing in disguise for Realmuto. This is forcing him to focus on making contact instead of forcing him to have to drive in runs constantly. He's playing first base, so a little bit less wear and tear on the body. He gets the lead off. He can focus a little more on hitting and making contact instead of driving in runs. Leave the driving in runs to guys like Harper, who's blazing hot, McCutchen, who's playing better, and you got Vierling in the lineup playing center field. This is going to be an interesting game tonight. Phillies Brewers tonight. Of course, we'll talk about that tomorrow on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill at 2 p.m. I'm Josh Hennig, Game Night 6 p.m. tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.
97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app have you covered on your radio and phones. Starting at 6 a.m. with the new Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max Kellerman show. At 10, it's Greeny with Mike Greenberg, followed by Bard and Hahn at noon. At 2 p.m., it's South Jersey's #1 sports talk show, The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. Take 97.3 ESPN with you everywhere you go with the free mobile app. Download it now in the Apple Store or Google Play.